Hello creeps, Brains here, and today it's a paranormal story time. Now this is going to be part 2 of, I believe the video is called my Scariest Paranormal Experience. So this is part 2. I'll link the first one down below so you can watch that one first, and then this one is going to make a lot more sense if you watch it first. So, going to the cabin and experiencing everything and having this little girl spirit attach itself to me, I obviously didn't want to go back to the cabin because this was one of the scariest things that had happened to me. I had never really had a ghost attach itself to me, or a spirit, or I honestly think this was something kind of darker than just a spirit. I feel it was maybe something demonic taking the form, and I may have mentioned that in the previous video, but I'm gonna mention it again. The feeling in my house changed when I came back from that cabin. Started with small things like pennies being flicked at you. I could be sometimes just sitting on the couch and all of a sudden a penny would come out of nowhere. Like, you know, you can snap pennies. That would happen a lot. I had a bunch of pennies show up in the bathtub. I don't know what that means. And I do want to say, none of the people involved would prank me with something like this. We took the paranormal pretty seriously. We weren't about pranking people like that. I mean, we pranked each other, but not with anything to do with paranormal. My dogs were scared all the time. Sometimes I would hear a little girl laughing and it sounded like really distant and just a really creepy, like, typical horror movie little girl giggle. One of my friends who slept in one of the rooms came and woke me up out of bed because she said it felt like someone was underneath the mattress or the box spring and everything pushing the bed up. And I'm pretty sure that was her. The little girl was kind of a trickster, which you could on one hand say that's more childlike. She's a little girl, makes sense. I kind of think of it more as like a low rank demon kind of thing. Like, they're not really powerful enough to do a whole lot of damage, or maybe they just don't want to, but they kind of just play tricks and make your life inconvenient. But she did show that she did have power, and I know that kind of contradicts what I said, but she wouldn't show that side to me. It's almost like she liked me. And I know that sounds weird. It's like a friend who likes to play jokes on you, but they still want to be your friend, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how it was. And all the really super negative, like, scary things that she would do would be to other people. Which is what I'm going to talk about now. The day that I left that cabin, or the night rather, I said I will never, ever go back. Well, guess what? I went back. I've actually went back 3 times, but the second time was pretty non-eventful, so I'm going to talk about the third and the true final time that I went to this cabin. So, the third time, there was a guy that my friends in Arkansas had went to high school with. And he was just a douchebag. Like, I'm sorry to say that, but he was just a douchey guy. No one really, like, liked him. He was super annoying. He was super rude. Just not considerate to people in general. Like, he was just a douche. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. And somehow he talked Elle into letting him go to the cabin with us. And we were all kind of joking, like, let's just go and leave him out there and see what the ghosts do to him. I know that's really terrible. I would never do that to anyone now, but I was like 17 or 18, so give me a break. So we're gonna call the douchey guy Jim, because I don't want to just call him douchey guy. We're gonna call him Jim. So, I think I've mentioned this before, but if not, Elle has like a pretty bad gun obsession, which is cool. I like shooting guns in, the safe way, not just like shooting guns in the air or anything like that. But he always had guns in his blazer. Jim wanted to take the shotgun that Elle had in the blazer to the cabin. I don't know why, again. I don't know why a gun in a situation with a ghost is ever a good idea. It's not going to do anything. So, just to, like, satisfy him from whining, Elle was like, dude, whatever, like, get the gun, it's fine. So we're all walking to the cabin again. I'm freaked out already because two creepy things have happened. I have something weird going on in my house. And I just didn't want to be there. Like, I could already tell something bad was going to happen as we were walking up to the cabin. So we get in the cabin, and Jim is waving this shotgun around. Now, the shotgun did have its safety on, to my knowledge. It should have, unless he took it off. But it was loaded. All of Elle's guns were always loaded, obviously. And I was like, dude, I'm like, do you know you're, like, waving a loaded gun around at people? And he was like, shut up. He's like, shut up, bitch, you don't know what you're talking about. So then Elle jumped in and was like, no, dude, you're not gonna call her that. Like, you're being really ignorant with this gun. Just, if you can't, you know, be responsible and be an adult, then you don't need to have it. So for some reason, Elle let him keep it. Again, I think it was just because he was, like, being such a douche. He was just like, dude, whatever, just, like, shut up. So all of a sudden, Elle pulls out a Ouija board. And I'm like, nope, I'm leaving. So at this point, I start to head to the door. One of my friends, we're just gonna call him Jay, follows me out, and everyone is like, what are you doing? Like, how are you gonna walk out into the woods by yourself? And I'm like, I'm not scared, like, I'm going back to the cars, and I'm like, and someone is taking me home, like, I was kind of being a little bit of a diva. Again, I was like 18. I was like demanding that someone took me to my car. So Jay's like, well, I'll take you to your car. He's like, I don't want to be here. I've been here plenty of times. There's like scary shit going on. I just don't want to be a part of it. So he took me back to my car. And at this point, I don't really remember what I did. It's not really important. I probably like went to go get something to eat. So Elle calls me like 30 to 45 minutes later. And he's like, you have to get over to my house, like, right now. I have to tell you what happened. So, I go to his house, and he proceeds to tell me one of the most terrifying things I've ever heard. In a way, I wish I would have been there, and I'm glad I wasn't. I'm sorry. One thing I forgot to mention is whenever I left the cabin, I looked at Jim, who is the douche with the gun, and I said, I hope she gets you. And that's when I left, okay? So Elle says about 5 to 10 minutes after I leave, he's just kind of looking around the cabin, like, nothing weird is happening. It's really quiet. And he happens to glance over at one of the windows. And there's a little girl's face, like, pressed up. Like, and he said her mouth was just, like, slack, like, staring into the window all creepy. Now, she never let me see her, or maybe I just don't have that ability to be able to actually see spirits. But he said her face looked like it had been cut off in pieces and then sewn back on. And he said she looked like super blue, like, I mean, like, you could tell she was definitely dead. And then by the time he, you know, kind of was getting ready to be like, hey guys, and like tell people to look, she was gone. Then the cabin door, like, flew open, just like bursted open like wind. It was like a big gush of wind, but, you know, not really wind. Flew the door open. All of a sudden, Jim starts screaming and flies across the cabin. Like a good 7-8 feet flies across the cabin. He still had the shotgun in his hand. When the shotgun hit the cabin floor, or the force of whatever pushed him, like, shattered the shotgun barrel. Like, it cracked it all the way down the barrel. So that was I'm trying to tell you the amount of force that Jim was thrown across the room. Not only that, after, you know, Jim is kind of dazed and just kind of sitting there, like, freaking out, trying to figure out what just happened, all the guys go over and look at him, and he has little girl handprints on his arm. it's like they're almost burnt into his arm. I used to have a picture of this at one point, but it's been lost, and the camera that was used, I think, was probably a really old, crappy camera, so you probably wouldn't be able to really gather it, but it looked like burn marks. But they went away the next day. They were completely gone. So yeah. So basically that concluded that, to me and everyone else involved, that she was my ghost. So, yeah, and she just continued to follow me. And after that happened, everything just kind of stayed the same as far as what would happen around the house, like giggling, stuff like that. I found I wouldn't sleep a lot. I couldn't stand to be by myself. Even outside was worse than in the house. Like, I don't know why, or maybe if something else was out there that I just never encountered. But at night, and I'd say a grown woman, because 18 is up, you're barely a grown woman at 18, but, I would have to run out to my car. Like, if I was going anywhere at night, even if someone was with me, I was still like, come on, you know, like, let's go to the car, like, put a little pep in your step, you know. And I would run to my car and jump in and lock the doors, and then I would instantly turn my, like, dome light on and look in the back seat. Like, I had to check the back seat. Honestly, I still check the back seat, but mainly for more, like, crazy people or something than ghosts. But yeah, it was just a really terrifying experience. It was just all over awful. And then she just kind of stopped. Like, I don't know because at a point I just got used to it, where I was just like, you know what, like, whatever, like, you're here, I'm here, if you're gonna live here, I'm just gonna have to get used to you living here. And when I moved in with my mom, that's when it stopped. So, I don't know. My mom is into, like, kind of spiritual stuff, so I don't know if her energy drove her away or what, but regardless, it stopped, and that was when I was like I was almost 20 when I moved up here to St. Louis, where I live. So yeah, that was part 2. If you have any questions, if you'd like me to elaborate on something, or if you have an experience that you would like maybe some advice on or opinion on, I'm always happy to help or happy to answer any questions that you may have. But this video is pushing 14 minutes, and I've rambled on long enough, all tongue-tied today for some reason. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love all you guys. And as always, creeps, stay very spooky. Bye.